Johnson over to Ramsey. The Lebanon gets checked by Ramsey. McClanahan is there. The puck is still loose. 11 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
What I just played is known as the Miracle on Ice, which occurred on February 22nd, 1980. The reason it is known as the Miracle on Ice is because the Soviet Union, who we were playing at that time, was the dominant hockey team. In the previous Olympics, they had beaten us 10-3, and they were the defending gold champions. What made this more of a miracle is that unlike the Soviet Union, which took their best athletes, most of our hockey team was consisted of college kids and amateurs and young rookies from the NHL. Truly a miracle on ice. And it has gone down as one of the most iconic sporting moments, not only in the history of hockey, but in the history of sports altogether. And 46 years to the day, history would repeat itself.
And it's Werenski. Now Jack Hughes pokes it around McCarr. United States with numbers. Back across it comes. Jack Hughes wins it. The golden goal for the United States. For the first time since the 1980 miracle, the United States takes the gold. Jack Hughes beating Jordan Bennington.
First off, I must address the elephant in the room. I'm not screaming like I was in the last broadcast. I was screaming during that goal, though. I was very excited, despite it being only like 7 in the morning. I got up. It was must-watch hockey, but there are other people in the house that are trying to sleep, so I am not screaming as much. But don't worry, my opinions will still be voiced. Watching that was honestly incredible, because probably apart from the first 10 minutes of the game, the Canadian team Canada played better than we did. They were the better team, and honestly, our goalie was incredible. A lot of talk is on Jack Hughes right now. Obviously, he scored the winning goal in overtime. But our goalie, my goodness. Connor Hellebuyck was just on another level, all right? At one point, Canada had a power play, all right? And they had 5 men on the ice versus our 3. And he managed to deflect every shot. He only allowed 1 Canadian goal that entire game. Honestly, in my opinion, he is the MVP of the men's hockey 2026 Olympics. You can argue with me about Connor McDavid all you want, but to me, it goes to Connor. The other Connor. Not Connor McDavid, but Connor Hellebuyck. And the astute among you will know that I recorded a broadcast on that day, and it was actually the last broadcast. I believe it was the broadcast on the IndyCar, the Unser family IndyCar Open Test at Phoenix Raceway. And the astute among you may... It was not. It was actually... I think it was a different broadcast. The astute among you will go, well, why did you not bring this up during the broadcast? And because I was waiting for something to happen, and it has happened. The prophecy has come true, all right? After the game, okay, first off, before I get to that, I have to set some context here. So, current director of the FBI, Kash Patel, was in Milan for the Olympics. And what the official story is that he was there to support the Italians in, like, security. Because, the Olympics could be, like, a big spot for terrorists. And do you know what? That's honestly valid. I would not be surprised if that is true. So he's there. And this is really, really important context here. A lot of people are missing this when reporting this. But that day, the same day that the U.S. Dominated Canada, or as I'll call them from now on, East Alaska, an attempt was made on the president's life. Someone broke into his Mar-a-Lago residence, I believe armed with a shotgun and a can, like a jerry can, filled with gasoline. And when confronted by security at Mar-a-Lago, he reportedly raised the shotgun up to, quote, a firing position and was shot and killed. And you know what? I do not have a problem with that. If someone was pointing a gun at me, I would probably shoot and kill them too. But a lot of questions have come out as a result of this. Obviously, how did he get in there? How was he able to get past the security at the gates? How did he get so far? How was he not noticed before? There's a lot of questions that go into this. Obviously the other stuff like motives and stuff, but I think motive is pretty clear. Trump's not a very popular president. I don't think that's a controversial opinion to say. I think if you just look at the amount of assassination attempts the guy's had, he's not a popular guy, and like neither was Reagan or neither was Bush, although I guess Bush didn't have as much assassination attempts. He did have the shoe one time. Someone chucked, someone took the shoes off of their feet and chucked them at him, which honestly kind of, if you look at the video, it's really funny. But that's probably the second, probably George W. Bush moment for me. Obviously, number one is him talking about the importance of beating terrorism and counteracting it, and then him going, "Now watch me hit this," and then like hitting a sinker in golf. I don't know if they're called sinkers. I don't watch golf. I just used a baseball term there. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on regarding that. Obviously, the president is okay because had he been shot or had he been hurt, it would have been all over the news, but he was not. But usually it is the job of the director of the FBI, which is Kash Patel, to start investigating these things. Like the questions I asked before: how did he get in? How was he how did he get in? That's the biggest question. How did he get into the Mar-a-Lago residence? How did he get past the gate? And that is the biggest question that needs to be answered. And that is a question that I so far have not found an answer to. Because what I'm going to discuss next has mostly taken that and put it in. And I believe this should be front page news, obviously, any reports on this. But what they've done, what sparked, as a result of the U.S. hockey team that I'm about to get into, is taking up the front page of the news. And this is where I gotta play it. We're gonna enter the bitching box.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're gonna hear about it.
I don't know if I have stated this on the broadcast already, but I do not like Kash Patel. And it's not just because of his political affiliations. It's because of everything. It's everything that he does. And what I mean by that is that he desperately comes across as like that principal that like really wants to be cool with students, but then like when it comes to like things like regarding like being actually cool, he doesn't know what being cool is, and then as a result he just makes a fool of himself. And I'm not alone in that thinking, even among MAGA people in the Republican Party and people in MAGA. Kash Patel's kind of being frowned upon right now, because of what I just said. He's kind of an awkward guy, and I hate to use this word. I hate to use this term because it like goes against like so many things. But honestly, like after they did so much, like after Trump was inaugurated as president, a lot of things changed. And one of the things that changed was the quote DEI hires. And so people who they didn't seem fit for the job were sacked. And some of them, I believe, were sacked fairly. And then you have the boss of Amtrak, or the CEO of Amtrak, who was sacked. And I believe that was unfairly, because Amtrak is actually making money, which is something that they don't usually do. But I won't get into that. And Kash Patel was put in as the director of the FBI. Fuck, how do I say this? Do you know what? I already said, I was arguing with the voices in my head, alright? Like, and I think I may have brought this up in the earlier broadcast. Zachary Brown. The Zachary Brown broadcast has not become Alex Jones' InfoWars of IndyCar yet. And I know, we gotta, Alex Jones episode 1 was not "We're turning the frogs gay," alright? We have to progress our way there. And so I'm gonna have to say some things that some people are gonna find uncomfortable if I want to be the Alex Jones of Formula 1 / IndyCar / NASCAR / IMSA / WEC / anything with wheels that moves. And men's USA hockey. By the way, I'm still very mad about the Coyotes. My GOAT Clayton Keller was there. Praise Clayton Keller. But yeah, so like I mentioned before, Kash Patel, he's not good at his job. And that I'm not saying that from like he's a Republican, or like I lean Republican, I lean right, and I know people who are like diehard like MAGA, and even they say that Kash Patel's not doing a good job. He's just not a good leader, if that makes sense. Like, if he's the type of I'm trying to think of another analogy. He's the type of boss that instead of like noticing that something is wrong in the workplace, he just comes up with like a Pizza Friday and thinks that will fix everything, but it doesn't. And I mean, there's obviously a bunch of stuff that people have been dogging Kash Patel on. Obviously, all of the Epstein stuff, like how that's being handled, he's been dogged on. But I'm not going to get into that yet. That'll be for a later broadcast, like I said, once I become more Alex Jones of IndyCar. Because I do believe that Mossad is sponsoring Penske. And that's why Joseph Newgarden won a 23 and 24 Indy 500 with a cheating car. That it was not because of Team Penske, but it was because of Mossad. Mossad had illegally altered the car so that Joseph Newgarden could win. And as a result, that robbed my boy Marcus Ericsson of the 23 Indy 500. I'm getting off track here. Massad did not have a point in this. But like I said before, Kash Patel is director of the FBI, whether we like it or not. And he was in Italy. And during his stay in Italy, while the U.S. were celebrating their gold win, that was when the attempted life on the president took place. And obviously, like, it was a weekend, and, like, he may have been winding down, and that's the main argument that I'm hearing, is that, like, Kash Patel, like, clearly you've never heard of a weekend. Kash Patel was just, like, chilling out, you know, decided to watch some hockey. And you know what? I don't have a problem with him watching hockey. I would watch hockey if I was in his position. What I wouldn't do is use taxpayer dollars to fly on an FBI jet and then use that for hockey. Obviously, he wasn't doing that, but that's an accusation that's being thrown around. The validity of that accusation, I don't know yet, because, like I said, the official statement is that he was in Italy on FBI business, which honestly is a valid statement. I would not be surprised if the FBI has something to do with the Olympics and the security of the Olympics. What I do know for certain, that was not part of the FBI's job in securing the Olympics, was Kash Patel getting wasted at a frat boy level and screaming Toby Keith lyrics at the top of his lungs in the locker room. That is right. Kash Patel went into the locker room of Team USA, and this is where this whole shitstorm kind of begins. I probably should have used a different word than shitstorm, considering Indians throw shit at... I probably shouldn't have mentioned that. Oh well. This is where this inferno begins. There, that's a better word. Because Kash Patel went in there and is going, let's fucking go! I'm too lazy to pull up the audio right now. But he's basically partying with the boys, which is 100% not something that is supposed to be, like, a part of the FBI security detail of the Olympics. And while he's partying with the boys is when the attempt on the president's life took place. And so, like, there are certain things that, like, I would excuse him for like, continuing to party, you know? Had there been, like, I don't know, like an attempted fraud, or like an attempted money laundering case in, like, what's a random city? In, like, Kenosha, Wisconsin. All right? He can party. All right? Had there been, like, a bank robbery in, like, Portales, New Mexico, all right, he could still party. I wouldn't have a problem with it. An attempt on the president's life, on the current president of the United States' life, I would not continue to party. I would immediately, like, get to work. Because what if the person wasn't acting alone? The person was acting alone, but what if they weren't? They didn't know that yet. They just shot him. So obviously I'd get to work, try and figure everything the fuck out. But that is not what happened. Instead, he kept drinking Corona with the boys like a frat boy. And I do mean like a frat boy. That man, as much as I have dogged on Kash Patel, the man can drink. From the videos I have seen, the guy looks like a heavy drinker. Or not a heavy drinker, but a heavyweight drinker. He looks like he can take some. Either that, or it's just altered to make him look like he can drink, and he actually gets drunk only after, like, 1.5 bottles. But that's not my area of expertise. I've gotten a little bit tipsy, but not drunk. So I wouldn't know what it's like. That was in Europe, by the way, where the legal drinking age is 16. This was not in the United States. So to the FBI agent who's listening to this right now, yes, it was legal, and I have photo proof that it was legal, that it was a legal alcoholic beverage in a legal country. And also, tell your director to get back to work. But yeah, so that caused a little bit of controversy online. But not compared to what would happen next. And honestly, I feel bad. A lot of people are putting labels out and coming to conclusions, and I honestly believe that it is not, like, it's not fair. To the players, it was a catch-22. But like, no matter what they would have done, they would, in this situation, they would have been wrong on either side. But Kash Patel calls up homeboy Donald Trump. Donald Trump is okay. By the way, Donald Trump is unfazed by the attempt on his life. And, Donald Trump begins by, like, congratulating the players. And I don't have a problem with that, Like, I'd expect Barack Obama to congratulate the players. I'd expect, like, Bill Clinton to congratulate the players. I'd expect any president to congratulate the players. I'd expect I'm not sure if Abraham Lincoln would understand the significance of this, considering the other stuff that happened during that time. But if he did understand the significance of it, I would say that Abraham Lincoln would congratulate the players. Any president would congratulate their players. And that's a normal thing for presidents to do. And Trump kind of rambled like he does. You guys are the best. You guys are the very best. I can't do my really good Trump right now, like I said, because people are trying to sleep, and my Trump is quite loud. And then, and this is where all the flack is coming from, is that the U.S. men's hockey team were then invited by Trump to visit the White House and to visit the State of the Union, which, as I am recording this, I believe just finished, but it may still be going on. It's about 10:30. I honestly couldn't care to watch the State of the Union, because I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen. And during that invitation, President Trump made, like, a joke, basically saying, like, oh, and by the way, if I invite you, I'm going to have to invite the women's team too. And then the guys laughed. And there are three possible scenarios for them laughing. And the first scenario, which I think is most likely, is that they were drunk off their ass. You could visibly see that they were drunk. Jack Hughes gave an interview along with a few other players, and they were visibly wasted. I believe one of the players said something like, I want to thank the troops for allowing us to play this game, exactly like that. Like, he was very clearly wasted. And when you're wasted, everything is funny. So that is what I believe is most likely. What people are saying online is that Team USA is full of misogynists and racists and blank cis and everything else. And so, as a result, that's the whole, that's basically where the controversy is. But then, so they laughed at that, and that's where the controversy is. That's basically it. Is the players shouldn't have agreed, and the players shouldn't have laughed. That is why people are mad. Personally, like I said before, I think it's a catch-22. Had the players gone, well, you shouldn't say that about the women's team because they also beat Canada 2-1 in overtime and they're really talented. Plus, me, Jack Hughes, my mother is also a pivotal figure in U.S. women's hockey. That would have garnered a lot of backlash, probably as much backlash as they're facing right now, but instead from the left, it being from the right. So either way, they're going to get backlash. But it's genuinely sad to watch, you know? And I was talking with a good friend of mine, and like this game, for what seemed about like 15 hours, there's 15 hours of bliss, all right? Like, nobody was Republican, nobody was Democrat, nobody was liberal, nobody was MAGA, nobody was communist, nobody was, well, the Russians were communists, but they were barred from the Olympics. Nobody was fascist, I think. I'm not sure about like the African countries that participated, but everybody was just a Team USA fan rooting against Canada because Canada has been the dominant hockey team, and Canada prides itself as being that's their sport. Hockey is their sport. And if you bring up the fact that they haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1993, then they go, oh yeah, well, we always kill it in the Olympics. So that's their kind of big cope. But they don't have the big cope anymore. So they're going to have to find a different cope. And I'm sure they will. They're very good at that. But we took home the gold from them. And 2010, obviously, I don't remember it because I was like 3. But I was like 3 or 4. I don't remember. I was probably 3 because it would be the Winter Olympics. But it went into overtime and Canada scored an overtime goal against the United States. And so, you know, the tables were flipped. So it was good to see a United States win. And especially, like I said before, it was on the 46th anniversary of the miracle. Like the stars were aligned, you know? And now, like, I'm seeing people on social media and I'm hearing people, like, in my classes saying they wish that Canada won because of, like, this drama that's happening with, like, the drama and the controversy that's happening with this team. And, like I said, I think it's unfair. I think regardless, the whole point of competing as a team, like representing a country, is not to represent, like, I don't understand why people don't understand this, but you don't represent a government for a country in the Olympics unless you're in like a totalitarian regime. So like the 1936 Olympics, obviously the German athletes were representing Adolf Hitler's Nazi government. That's the first one that comes to mind. I think there was an Olympics that was to be held in the Soviet Union, but it was boycotted, so I don't know too much about it. But yeah, like, I don't believe that these players were going in like, oh, I'm going in and I'm going to represent Donald Trump. No, they weren't. Nobody was going in like that. None of the Canadian players were going and saying they were going to, you know, represent the Prime Minister. Or none of the, like, what's his name? There's this really good, luge guy, from Great Britain. And I doubt he went in going, do you know what? I'm going to win a gold medal and I'm going to win it for Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And I'm going to win it for King George. No. Like, none of these athletes go in like that with that mindset. They go in with the mindset, I'm going to I'm going to win and I'm going to get that gold medal and I am going to represent, I'm going to make my country proud. They're not going to make the government proud. They're going to make the country proud. And that is what a lot of people seem to be misunderstanding here. Like I said, and to be honest, like, I've been critical of the Trump administration in the past, but if I was invited to the White House, that's pretty dope. That is pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. It is pretty cool to be invited to the White House. Obviously he wouldn't invite me to the White House because I just implied maybe like 10 minutes ago that Mossad was the reason why Joseph Newgarden won the 23 and 24 Indy 500. But regardless, so I felt this is going to be a shorter broadcast again, because I just don't know how to segue this from, because as I'm recording this, we have 5 days. We have 5 days until the Grand Prix, the St. Pete Grand Prix, IndyCar opening round. And so I don't really know how to segue this kind of like disappointing, sad, like upset topic into that. But the next broadcast, there will be that. I will put out my official predictions for the 2026 NTT IndyCar Series. Which team will do the best, which driver will do the best, which engine manufacturer will dominate. I have those predictions locked in, and I will share those in the next broadcast. And basically, to sum this up, is don't get mad at really stupid things. Because, like, I've seen it happen so many times before. And, like, this is supposed to be, like, a unifying moment for our country. And it's turned into the opposite. And it's not just the left that's making this a problem. The right is making it a problem as well. The person who makes all, like, the AI slop that, like, Trump posts, made some more AI slop of him on the rink and him punching Canadian hockey players, which obviously is not good for relations at all. And I know hockey's pretty lax with the punching. It's a cultural part of hockey, but not in Olympic hockey. If you do that in Olympic hockey, you'll be banned. So someone clearly does not know puck there. But yeah, I may get some, because I think there's like 2 or 3 people who listen to this now, and if you're listening, you are appreciated. I know you're listening, and I do appreciate you. It's nice to know that people do listen other than the voices in my head. Because that's what most of this is me just taking the voices from my head and putting it out in a legible form that, like, people can understand. And I hope that people, like, at least are, this one's probably not as entertaining as the last one, but I hope, like, people can, like, do their, I just hope people, like, look forward to the broadcast and don't go, it's another Zachary Brown broadcast. I fucking hate these, you know. But it's, yeah, to sum it up, Kash Patel, I don't like him. I don't know why he got in the locker room, but somehow he did, and now all this happened. And I'm not putting all the blame on him. Obviously, you have to put some of the blame on the players because they were the ones who did laugh. But then you also have to wonder why, like I said before, why was Kash Patel doing this when there was a literal attempt on the president's life earlier? So, I don't know. I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. And I very well could show up to the next broadcast and like revoke some things I said, or maybe double down on something I said. I don't know. Or I don't know yet. But yeah, so that'll be it for tonight. Yeah, I don't know really how to end this. Do you know, actually, do you know what? I do know how to end this, but I would get copyright striked, if I did do it. But basically, what I can do is I can supply an alternative. If you're wondering what this clicking is, I've been having problems with some of my, I've had this keyboard for a really long time, and some of the keycaps were going bad, so I just replaced the keycaps on them. It was the N, the I, the G, and the E keycaps. No relation. I'm joking. It wasn't those. It was the number pad on the right. I do a lot of crunching numbers on this, but every goal that Team USA got, both the men's and the women's team, they would play Freebird. Obviously, I cannot play Freebird on here because YouTube is a bunch of stinky poo-poo heads, and they will copy strike me down to the 9th circle of hell. But what I can give you is Freebird on the kazoo. So, without further ado, thank you for listening to the Zachary Brown broadcast, and have a good night. Da 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 da